Hi, welcome to the Valley Community Library. We are proud to be a PA Forward Gold Star Library. And you know, adventure begins at the Valley Community Library because we are taking you on an adventure today. We are joined with Sarah Corcoran from the Pennsylvania Sierra Club. Today's program is Teen Tracks, promoting health literacy. Today we are going to hike Aylesworth Park. Now, many of you in our service area might be familiar with Ellsworth. Whether you've come here at family fun days where you get to meet the library under the pavilion, or coming here to picnic by the lake or go swimming with your family, or even using the playground at Aylesworth. But did you know there are trails? Yes, hiking trails. And we're going to show you one of them. But if you go on Lackawanna County's website and search Aylesworth, you can find this map, which will show you many trails. Aylesworth is a 252-acre park, and the lake itself is 4 acres. All right, I'm going to hand it over to Sarah. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the Sierra Club?
So the bugs are bad today. Remember, if you go hiking, to wear some bug spray. So I've been hiking with the Valley Community Library for the last few months with our Teen Tracks program, and it's been awesome. But we haven't really taken that much time to talk about what the Sierra Club is and what we do within the state. So the Sierra Club is one of the largest grassroots environmental nonprofits in the country. We have chapters and groups all over the country, and even some international programs as well. And we've been around for 129 years. It's a pretty old organization. What I do for the Sierra Club is I do all of the forest advocacy and land use stuff within the state. So whenever the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources comes out with a new plan, I look through it and I make comments to make the process a little bit better and make our parks more accessible and open to everyone within the state, because our public lands are for everybody, not just those that can afford to go and explore. And another thing that I do with the Sierra Club is I partner with volunteers like Fawn to offer outings within the state, which are pretty much anything outside. Any hikes, bike trips, canoe, paddleboard, kayaking, even cleanups or stewardship projects like invasives removals or tree plantings, any of that stuff. So I get to do all of the fun things having to do with the outside. I also help with fracking infrastructure within the state, because Pennsylvania has a lot of fracking infrastructure. It's how we get our gas. If you happen to use
UGI.
Yeah, if you have gas to help heat your house or to cook with a lot of that comes from Pennsylvania. But unfortunately, it's not very healthy for the people that live around the wells or the pipelines or have to deal with the truck traffic. So we're trying to find more healthy and cleaner alternatives to help phase out some of the fracking within the state.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, so now you know a little bit more about the Sierra Club. Let's get on with our hike. As you'll notice, we decided to record right next to our park rules. Each time you visit a park, you're going to want to check out the rules beforehand, if possible. That way you know whether dogs are allowed or not. So here, dogs are allowed. They should be leashed at all times. And let's get on our hike. So from the parking lot next to the lake, there are 2 ways that you can make this loop. There is a water crossing. So if we went to the left, going up towards the playground, there is a water crossing that way. So we're saving that for last because we don't want to get our feet wet and then have to finish hiking. That's something that you would like to look at beforehand. According to the map, There is a bridge, however, I have been up here many times and I know that there is no bridge going over Aylesworth Creek. So we are going to start our hike off to the right and go around the lake that way. All right. Another thing is I didn't bring my backpack today, and that's because I know that this hike is short and easy. I did bring my water, and I know that Sarah has her bag with her first aid kit. And of course, we both have our cell phones. And there is reception up here, and it's really good. Ready? Let's go hike.
So at the end of the parking lot, right before we start on the trail, there is this fancy little way station sign. It's an informational station that you'll see in a lot of state parks, and it'll tell you more about the area or the history or things you can see, so they're always good to stop and read if you have the opportunity. This one here talks about how Aylesworth Lake was formed. Back in 1955, there was a really big flood in this area. Lots of people got killed, and in response, the Army Corps of Engineers and the U.S. government created a whole bunch of lakes as flood mitigation in the area. So this is for flood control. In case we get a lot of water in the future, it siphons off, it makes it so that not as much water makes it downstream as quickly as it could otherwise. So that's the primary purpose, but it's a recreation lake now as well. Behind the sign, you'll notice these big red fuzzy looking things. That's Staghorn Sumac. It's not like poison sumac. It's okay to touch it. And actually, you can make a tea out of those fuzzy red things. But remember what we've said. Unless you're 125,000% sure, don't eat anything that you see on the trail. And don't eat them raw, okay? So you can't just nibble on them when you're out and about. But they are okay to touch. They're fuzzy. And they're a cool thing to know about. Staghorn Sumac.
Mushrooms, they're huge. How many do you spot? I count 4. What did you find?
I found a super cute caterpillar. Look at him. He's a spice bush caterpillar. And he turns into the spice bush swallowtail, the black and blue swallowtail butterflies you see around. But doesn't he look like a caterpie? He's so cute. And he is on a sassafras plant, which is really, really neat. If you look at the leaves, sassafras trees are one of the few ones out there that have 3 different types of leaves.
So there's one leaf.
Yep.
And all on the same.
All on the same one.
There's another leaf. Let's see if we can spot the third.
Here's one. It looks like a mitten.
Cool.
So they have mitten leaves, regular looking leaves, and ones I like to call dinosaur footprints. See, don't they kind of look like dinosaur footprints?
Does.
Or a really big duck, maybe.
Well, you do well there, little caterpillar, and go turn into a butterfly and help us pollinate. Found a fork. So I think someone was trying to do good and carrying in their lunch and like reducing plastic, but it doesn't work if you so take it back out with you.
Now technically this trail is on the shorter side. It's only about a mile, right?
Yeah, about
But
a mile.
depending on how much stopping to clean up you do, it could take you a little bit longer.
One thing I love about this trail is there are many spots that you can stop and enjoy the water or even go fishing. And we see a lot of baby fish.
Yeah, the little minnows. Most of them aren't actually babies. That's the full size that they'll get to.
No way.
Yeah. They swim around in schools. You can see there's a couple of them over there too. Anywhere you see those little like rings popping up on the water, that's them trying to get snacks.
I always thought they were baby fish.
Nope, full grown little minnows.
Alright. Well, something that I see, Sarah, and I always wondered about is what is that right there?
All right, so if you watched our Teen Treks video last month, when we were at the reservoir in Dunmore, you would have seen the big spillway. This is kind of like the spillway. It does the same thing. So the water from the lake will go through, there's a big hole underneath that turns into like a tunnel that goes through to the other side of the dam where the water will drain out. So the water level always stays at about this level unless there's a lot of rain, and then it can fill up and the dam will stop it. So there's a hole, like I said, and it goes underneath the dam to let the water out instead of having a big old pretty spillway.
And part of the trail, you're going to walk over the, well, it's not a spillway, a pipeway?
Yeah, we'll call it that.
Making up our own vocabulary. And you get to walk past the 90-foot dam.
It doesn't seem that tall when you're here, but it's taller on the other side. I think it goes more,
Yeah.
it's kind of built up here. For reference, 90 feet is what, like a 9-story building?
Pretty steep.
Built to block a lot of rain.
And there's a lot of plastic in there. Alright, so after you walk the main trail down, over the spillway, pipeway, you'll get to this dead end looking area, but it's not a dead end. We're going to follow the trail up this little bit of rocky hill, and we'll be into the woods. So, let's go.
You'll want to watch your step going up that hill. Those rocks can be a little tumbly.
Little loose.
Yeah.
But then the view that you get,
It's really nice.
really nice. And now we are going to go into the woods.
Did you see the goldenrod over here?
Goldenrod.
It's nice little end of summer pop of color, along with the black-eyed Susans you normally see this time of year.
I love black-eyed Susans.
They're awesome. They're like little tiny sunflowers. Pure joy.
And goldenrod, a lot of people have allergies to.
Yes.
And their pollen can spread, it's like 20 miles. I read.
Especially if it's like a dry day, the humidity doesn't like pull it down.
But it's really pretty to look at.
It is.
All right, as we go into the woods, as always, you want to watch where you are stepping because there are a lot of rocks and roots. All right, let's go.
Look at this moth.
Moth. Oh! Good spotting.
Good camouflage, buddy.
Yes.
I tend to spot all the little things on the trails.
Sarah and I just went for a hike with Queer Nipa out at Nescopec State Park, and she spotted a dragonfly.
Oh yes, the Dragonfly Nymph. It was a casing. It was really cool.
So that's what they shed.
Yes, so dragonflies live most of their lives underwater, actually. They're what's called a macroinvertebrate. They're a water bug, and then they molt and they get bigger and bigger every year. They shed their exoskeleton. And that one was so big that it probably had shed to become a dragonfly at that point. But yeah, they can live like over a decade as a nymph underwater before turning into dragonflies.
Wow.
Right? Isn't that cool?
That is really cool. And here you'll see a photo of that casing that Sarah found on a different hike. So Sarah is great at spotting all those little things where I need something big and in your face and bright.
Green on this trail. Oh, and there's some of those little princess pines I was talking about.
Go ahead and tell us, what is a princess pine?
Okay, so a princess pine isn't a tree. It's actually something called a club moss. And it looks, if you look at it, it looks like a little tiny pine tree. So princess pine, a little tiny pine tree. And for a while in the area, they were actually getting pretty close to being endangered. They were a threatened species in the area because they look like tiny little pine trees, and people would pick them and use them for Christmas decorations.
And they're really soft.
They are, they're fuzzy. So when we were walking up, I saw a tiny little red mushroom, and that's what caught my attention. But then I saw this guy, and it's not a mushroom. This is actually made by a little bug. It's called a gall. So the little bugs will make this little thing so that they can transform. It's kind of like a chrysalis. But they don't turn into butterflies. They usually just turn into like flies and stuff.
Oh.
Not as pretty, but they make these really cool structures and they leave them behind when they're done. So this is called a gall. And there's different types too. You can find them on grasses, or this is, I think, is an oak gall because it's on an oak leaf. But yes, cool things in nature.
Alright, so there is a side trail that goes up. We are not taking that. We're going to continue on straight to stay on the loop trail. When you look at the map, there are other trails that connect and go further out into the 252 acres. But we're going to stay on the main trail Since we've been doing to the right the whole time, that's going to be our rule of thumb. We're going to go to the right.
Hug the lake.
I think we are hugging the lake by picking up all the garbage.
Yeah.
And showing that we care.
See the flip-flop back there?
Oh, an aerosol can. Hold on.
What is that? That's not gonna fit in the bag, is it?
Nope.
Is it a chair cushion?
No. Hold on. What's this? All right, Sarah was able to identify this. Is it a tree or is it a bush?
It's a tree. It's a small tree, but it's a tree. You can see all the seed pods up there too. If you use witch hazel toner in your facial routine, this is a witch hazel tree. So we can make our own face toner and not have to spend $10 a bottle on it.
And witch hazel helps reduce redness, right?
Yeah, it's
And irritation.
It's a clarifying agent, but not good for folks with rosacea. I learned that the hard way.
Cool.
Yeah. It promotes outdoor literacy because you want to learn more.
Yes. Give it a little taste. How do we go around the puddle?
By not walking through it. Yeah, this way is better. There's more overgrowth on that side.
Check out the mushrooms here.
Oh, cool.
There's a little baby tree too. A baby tree? A little baby tree. Let me bring the camera closer. Come on closer so you can see this.
So it's actually a good thing to leave downed trees. Not only do they make great homes for animals, but they also help other plants grow. So we see the mushrooms here, and then we also see a little tiny baby tree starting to come up and using the big tree as its base. I think there's another little tiny one over there as well, but I might be mistaken. Some trees actually will grow up in rows because they sprout out of the downed trees.
And they're called nurse trees then, right?
They are, yes. Because they act like a little baby nursery.
Cool. So, leave this tree here, and in how many years do you think until we see that as a larger tree?
It's gonna take a while. Some trees sprout up pretty fast, like your birch trees, and your like aspens are pretty quick, but most of your like maples and oaks and stuff, they take a little bit longer.
Okay, and now we're gonna go down this hill. Alright, so we are at a really fun intersection. There's a trail that goes down to the right so we can continue hugging the lake that way. And then behind me, there is a trail that goes deeper into the woods, straight ahead, and there's another trail that veers off down to the right. Both of these trails will lead you to the same direction going to the right, where there is a water crossing. If you stayed straight, you're going to go deeper into Aylesworth, and we just want to keep this hike shorter. So you can either go to the first trail to the right or to the second trail down to the right. You get to choose. Both of them takes you to the same place. Or go this way. Ooh. Watching your step. It is slippery. All right, Sarah, what did you find?
Well, on my side, I noticed when I was walking up, first, a picnic table that probably doesn't see a lot of use, a birdhouse, and a whole bunch of beaver stumps. So sometime in the past, there was a very busy beaver around here. Now, if you look out there, do you think you can see any of them? Come on a little closer. All those stumps out there were chewed down by a beaver.
And this is Aylesworth Creek that we are running into that goes right into Ellsworth Lake.
So there's going to be a stream crossing coming up when we cross across Ellsworth Creek. Try saying that 5 times fast. It's not going to be as easy as the crossing when we went to Dunmore Reservoir. The rocks aren't as big, we've had a lot of rain, so there's a good chance that our feet are going to get wet. If you're wearing pants, like Ms. Fawn and I are, you'll want to probably pull them up a little bit, maybe tuck them into your shoes, so that way there's less of a chance of the hem getting all wet. And you'll want to make sure that you are wearing good shoes when you do this crossing. Waterproof is best, but since it is towards the end of the hike, if you don't mind having soggy socks, feel free to walk right through. It's kind of nice and refreshing in the middle of summer when it's hot. So when we get there, you'll notice there's some rocks off to the right, and that's where we're going to cross because the water is more shallow, and we can try to balance on the rocks a little bit so that way we aren't just walking straight through the creek. I will go first. Do not laugh if I fall in.
This is a really nice area to sit and read. From the other side is the access to the park. Sometimes I like to sit down here. My kids like to splash in the water.
You can go upstream a little ways too.
Yeah.
All right, so here I go.
Yay, you did it! Now it's Miss Fawn's turn. Alright, so we did it. We crossed the creek, but we got wet.
Well, you got wet.
I got wet. On a hot day like this, it felt really good. And I'm going to go home and be able to change my socks and shoes because we are at the end of the hike. We have a short bit of trail to go up, and then we're back on the road. I'm really glad that we saved that water crossing for last. Hiking with wet feet is definitely not fun. end. The parking lot is to our right, but if you just went down to visit the water and you wanted to go back up to the playground, you go to the left. And I'll show you both. Walking up to the right, the parking lot's down to the right, and then we can see the playground from here. Check out what Sarah spotted on our way out. Can you see him? All right, Sarah, what is that?
So that is a red eft. It is the juvenile form of the red spotted newt that sometimes you see floating around in like lakes and ponds. And they come in a variety of colors, but you've probably seen them the most when they're the bright red color, like that bright orangish red. This guy blends in a little bit more, but they're essentially newt teenagers. They come out on land for a few years, and then they go back to being in the water. So they start out their life in the water, come out to land, and then go back to the water again to become an adult. So we'll let this happy teen that looks like he just had a snack, his belly's pretty big right now, go about his day.
And we're going to clean up his habitat by picking up some more garbage. Alright, so we finished our hike. We're back at the parking lot, and there are trash cans. 1, 2, 3 just in four just in the parking lot area down by the lake. There's also more trash cans up by the playground. And yet, we still picked up an entire garbage bag full of trash, a seat cushion, and a tire. I was pretty surprised by that.
Yeah, I mean, for how short of a hike it is, and how biologically diverse. There's a lot of good biodiversity around here. We didn't see a lot of invasives today, but it seems like the biggest problem for Aylesworth Lake is people.
So it's great to get out in nature. We want you to explore nature. Just remember to carry out whatever you carry in. That way you leave the trail nice and clean for all the wonderful plants, animals, and people. Another thing is, when we hiked Dunmore, there were clusters of garbage in locations, like dump sites almost. But here, we picked up a little bit here, a little bit there, and that little bit adds up to a lot. We found at least, 6 shoes?
Yeah, a couple pairs actually. I want to say at least 6 or 7 shoes.
Coffee cups,
Sweatpants.
Pair of sweatpants. You've seen the trail. Let me show you the playground in case you're not familiar with it. And then we hope that you enjoy Aylesworth. And remember to carry a trash bag when you go out hiking.
And join us next month.
Yes, October might be our last hike.
Yeah, because after October it starts getting a little chilly.
And both Sarah and I hibernate in the winter. So maybe we'll do a video where we can talk about outdoor activities in the winter.
There's a lot of things to do outside in winter. I prefer cozying up with a good book, a blanket, and some hot cocoa. But
too.
There's a lot of things that you can do while you are outside in the winter.
And in the spring, we're hoping to meet in person so we can do hikes like this with you along with us in person. So that's not set in stone, but keep an eye on the Sierra Club and the Valley Community Library's Facebook page for those announcements. Tell us your favorite trail and find out where we go next month. Thank you. Happy hiking. This is the playground at Aylesworth Park. Set, go. playground is an inclusive and boundless playground, which is really nice because people of all different abilities are able to utilize, play on the music, go up the ramps, and slide down the slides and enjoy the playground. There's even swings for different ages and abilities. So definitely a fun place to meet new people and to play and explore.